Welcome to the Westcott Crochet channel and welcome to the Spring Flowers crop top. If you like this one, send that message to YouTube by tapping the thumbs up button. To see future projects, do please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. You can now follow me on Instagram where I try and post a sneaky peek at upcoming tutorials. There's a small area of complexity on this one because I want you to make the colour changes as clean as possible. All is explained and I have provided a full on-screen summary around the 19-minute mark to set out the main points to remember. Any yarn recommending a 4mm hook will create a similar result. I used the recommended 4mm and a 3mm for the top and bottom trim. I also used a tape measure and a yarn needle to weave in my ends. Working with my 4mm hook, I need to make a chain that goes comfortably around the widest part of my upper body, and that chain needs to be a multiple of 6. I'm ultimately going to be chaining 132, but to start with, I'm just going to chain 10. And then I make sure that my chain's not twisted, and I take the first loop from my chain and just slot it onto the end of my hook. And then when I chain on, the chain can't twist because I will be joining it to form a loop. I'll be back when I've worked my chain. Here's my chain. I take my working loop, pull it through the loop that I put on my hook earlier, and chain at 1. And then, starting into that very first bump, back bump on my chain, I'm going to make a single crochet. And then I'm going to make 4 more. So that's 5 in total. I'm going to chain 1, skip 1 chain, and then 5 single crochets into the next 5 chains, the back bumps of. Then I chain 1, skip 1, another 5 single crochets, and that's going to be the way all the way around. 5 single crochets, chain 1, skip 1, 5 single crochets. Back to the start, where I'll work my 5 single crochets and chain 1. Back round at the end, at the start, end. I've just worked 5 single crochets, chain 1. I don't work my last chain. I slip stitch into the chain 1 that I started the round with. But before you do that, just make sure you haven't somehow twisted your loop. And there I am. So now I'm just going to turn around and I'm going to slip stitch into that chain 1 space. And I'm going to slip stitch into the second of that 5 cluster. So once and twice along the chain of the cluster of 5 single crochets, because that's where I need to be when I pick up my white yarn again. Just pull that up, a big loop, so I don't lose it. So here I've just turned my work around. This is where I slip stitched to join to finish the round, and then I slip stitched back 3 spaces. I'm going to go in through that chain 1 space with my hook, add on a slip knot in my secondary colour. For me is this blue. I'm going to chain 1 just to secure that, pull it tight. Then I'm going to work a standing double crochet, pull up my yarn the height of a double crochet, wrap it once around my hook, hook in through the chain 1 space, pull back a loop, yarn over, pull through the 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the 2 loops. If you don't want to do a standing double, just chain 3. And now I'm going to work a shell of sorts. So I've got the double crochet there, I'm then going to work a single. I'm then going to work a double, followed by a single and a final double. So that's 5 stitches, double, single, double, single, double. Then I'm going to chain 3 into the next chain 1 space. I'm going to do the same thing again. So starting with a double, and then a single, double, single, and double. Chain 3 into the next space, do it all again. Chain 3 all the way around, making these irregular little shells into the chain 1 space. Worked all the way around with my weird little shells. Back at the start, I pull my white yarn to the front position, and I've just chained 3 after the last shell. I'm going to slip stitch into the top of my first double crochet. If you chained 3, slip stitch into chain 3. Pull up my blue loop so I don't lose it, or add on a stitch marker of some sort. I'm going back to the white yarn now, and I'm going to change direction. So on with my loop, pull it tight, and I'm going to work a standing double into the stitch that I slip stitched into. If you can't work the standing double, then you go into that stitch, under the chain, into the stitch, and slip stitch. Whoops, it's dropped out, so do it again. In through the stitch, pull that through, and slip stitch so that you're around the chain already, and then you chain 3 for your first double crochet replacement. So I'm going to do a standing double, pull up my yarn, wrap it around once, in through the stitch and under the blue chain, pull back a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, chain 1, and then I skip 1 stitch on the white, if you can see there. So I was just in this stitch here. I missed the first one because I slip stitched back to the second position at the end of the last white row. I'm skipping the next one, and I'm working into the one after with a double. There we go. I'm going to chain 1 and into the shell. I'm going to skip the first one, and I'm going to add a single crochet into the second stitch, which is the single crochet. Chain 1, skip the middle one onto the next one, which again is the single crochet, and single crochet on top of that. Chain 1, and I have what appears to be 3 stitches in the center here. It's actually 5. There's just one on either side that you can't see because of the shell. So into, if you look at the middle one, I'm going to be working double crochets around the other 2. So in through that one, around the chain, and work the double crochet. Chain 1, skip the center, in through the next one, double crochet. Chain 1, back to the shell, on top of the single crochets on the shell, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, leaving that middle stitch empty. So that's what I'm going to do the whole way around. So again, chain 1, that didn't go well, chain 1, double crochet into this stitch here, double crochet into this stitch here, missing the center one, chain 1 in between, chain one again, single crochet on top of the shell, miss middle one, single crochet on top of the shell. And I'll just work that the whole way around. So I'm just at the end of my row for the white. I've worked my last single crochet and chain one. This is the back where I'm working the white rows. So I made sure that my blue yarn is at the back here. So it's the front but the back. So I've chained one, as I say. I'm going to slip stitch into the top of the first double crochet to close the round. Then I'm going to turn around with the white still, slip stitch around that chain one and slip stitch in top of this single crochet, and that sets me up for the next round of the white. If I've forgotten to do that at the end, all is not lost. I can just do that just before I close off the blue round and just come back and put the white back in real quick. Right, so that's there. I'm onto the blue again. So turn around, put my hook into my blue loop and pull it in. Now I'm going to chain one, two to build up my yarn in the back, and then I'm going to chain three. Now this second chain I will slip stitch into at the end. One, two, three, and I'm going to start with a shell again. So double crochet into this space, single, double, single, double. So the shells I'm working now where I did the double, chain one, double, and here again double, chain one, double, and all of the shells go into there with a chain three in between. Jump straight to the next one, double single, double single, double single, double, chain three, same again into the next, just in between these two double posts. So all the way around, chain three, and work the little quirky shell in between the double crochet posts. So that's all the shells worked. I've just worked the last double crochet on the last shell, and my hook is through the fourth chain from the last shell. So 1, 2, 3, 4 chains, which is the second chain up from where I started. I'm just going to slip stitch through there, pull up a big old loop, and then I'm just going to take a minute to unravel all of my yarns because they've got into a fair old twist. You'll have to do this every now and then just to keep everything straight. We'll be back in a minute. Okay, I'm suitably untangled. I'm back. So onto the white now, which is in front, turning around. So now it's in back. I keep my blue yarn forward, so keep your yarns forward when you're done with them, then they're in the right position for the next round. So this is the back. I'm going to move that to one side and work a standing double into the stitch that I slip stitched into last time. So again, if you work in the chain three, slip stitch into that stitch and then work your chain three. I'm going to do the standing double around the chain. So up I go, around, in, in through the stitch and work the double. Chain one, and now I'm onto the shell. So 1 single crochet on top of the shell, chain 1, single on top of the shell, missing the center stitch, chain 1, and here I have the 2 singles that I worked last time. I worked a white row, and I'm going to put doubles on top of there. So yarn over, in through the top of the stitch, double, chain 1, in through the top of the next single stitch, and add a double there as well. Chain 1, singles on top of the shell as before, miss 1 single, chain 1, miss 1 single, chain 1, and again doubles on top of singles, and I'll work that way the whole way around for this round. So here at the end of that row, I've finished with a double crochet. If you remember, we started with a double crochet, so this is this little partner, similar to here. So chain 1, and I'm going to slip stitch into the top of his little body here, making the pair. Then I'm going to slip stitch around this chain 1 space, and in top, oops, that's not the top, on top of this single crochet, and pull up my loop. Here I'm back onto the blue, so turn around, keep all of this to the front, oops, there we go, and this time when I start the blue, I start with a shell, so it's going to alternate. I'll start with a shell in the blue, I'll start with a chain in the blue, shell in the blue, chain in the blue, and similarly with the white, I'll start with 1 double crochet post or 2. In addition, with the white rows, where I start the round with 1 double crochet, I end that round by slip stitching forwards into position above the single crochet. Where I start the round with 2 double crochets, I end that round by turning and slip stitching back the way I came into position above the single crochet. And it's just wherever you come up, just turn around and work the pattern back as it was. So from here, you're either going to slip stitch into this space here and then work the shell with your chain 3. Either way, we'll all start with a chain 2 just to build up the yarn, and then you'd work your slip stitch and your chain 3. I'm going to work the standing double for the first stitch of my shell. Then I'm going to do a single, double, single, double, chain 3, and work the rest of them. And I'll slip stitch into here to close. So I just need to make sure that my white yarn is in front so that I'm ready to grab that next time to go back the other way. Finish my blue row, and I've slip stitched into that first stitch as usual. So my yarn for the white is in the front, and it will be therefore in the back when I turn around to do that row. And as I mentioned, I'll be starting with 2 posts, 2 double posts, with the chain 1 in between, and then I move on to the shell, the post, the shell, the post, the shell, the post, the shell, all the way around, and that will alternate, as I say, between 1 post and 2 posts as you change rounds, just because you're jumping from here to here. A few useful points to remember. At each colour change, the old yarn must be kept forward. Each secondary colour row will start with a chain 2 in the back to build up your yarn. Follow this by alternating between a further 3 chains or the shell in between the 2 double crochet posts. Each primary colour row will start with either 1 double crochet and then onto the shell top, or double crochet, chain 1, second double crochet, and then onto the shell. Where the primary colour row starts with 1 double crochet, end the round by slip stitching forwards into position above the single crochet. Where the primary colour row starts with double crochet, chain 1 double crochet, end the round by turning and slip stitching backwards into position above the single crochet. Hope that makes sense. The important thing to remember is where you place your yarn when you change colour. The rest of it is just a lot of repetition, but you must make sure that your yarn is placed in the front when you change, just because it needs to be there for when you turn direction so it's in the right position. Otherwise you're going to get into a big old tangle. So yarn's in the front and you're going to be fine. I'm going to work the height that I need, then I'm going to come back. I'm back. I've worked 12 rows of flowers for a crop top version. Obviously work as long as you want. You can see on the back here where my slip stitches wind back and forth. That should lessen in appearance when it's been through the wash, but it doesn't look bad. This is the inside where you can just see the blue travels up with the chain stitch there. So again, not too untidy, but it's on the inside and won't be seen in either way. So I'm finished on the white row, which you need to do. So I've lost my hook, and there it is. I'm just going to chain one, if I haven't already. There we go. Pull that tight, and I can cut that off now. And that's done. So onto the blue, I'm going to work a trim along the top. So I'm still attached here in the back. So the first thing I need to do is chain 2 to build up the height to get me to the level with the white. I'm then going to go into the back loop on this white row. Oops, if it'll let me. And I'm going to slip stitch. Pull that tight. Now I'm going to swap out my hook from a 4mm to a 3mm. And I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. The 5th one is my turning chain. Just get rid of those. So not working into that turning chain, I'm going to work 4 single crochets back down this chain. Back down at the bottom here, I'm going to go into the back loop again, pull up the loop and slip stitch through into the next one, and slip stitch again. Then I'm going to turn around and come back up my trim section. So the first 2 stitches that I see from my hook are the slip stitches I've just worked. So I go from the 3rd loop into the back loop there as well now, and I'm going to make 4 back loop single crochets. Chain 1 at the end to turn, spin myself around and work back down with 4 back loop single crochets. Here at the bottom again, next 2 stitches, back loops only, slip stitch into those, 1 and 2, and then I turn around and work my 4, chain 1 to turn, 4 back down, slip stitch into the base twice, and repeat until I've gone all the way around and I've got no more stitches to slip stitch into, and I'll be back round here. I've worked my edge trim all the way around. I've just got the two sides to join. If you've tried it on at this point and you find that it's too baggy around the top and it's too loose, you might want to try a smaller hook size, even smaller. I've gone down 1mm, you might want to try going down 2, failing which, there's this stuff, which is an elastic thread. This is actually in clear, so you can use it with any colour. You can get it in black and white typically, but I got a clear one because it goes with any colour. And you just basically thread this onto your yarn needle and just go through on the inside in these back bumps and just put a few laps of this, and that will tighten it all up. So I'm just going to tighten these two sides. I'm just going to seam up these two sides. So I've just worked my 4 stitches down to the bottom. I slip stitched into the last stitch on the base, and I'm on the inside edge. So I've got my start chain on this side, and I've got where I've just finished working on this side. I'm going to go into the outermost loop, so the one nearest to me in this instance, on the side that I've just finished working on, and the remaining loop on the start chain. And I'm going to pull through a slip stitch. So again, the loop nearest to me, the outer loop, on the side I've just worked, remaining loop from the start chain, and slip stitch. I've only got 4, so that's 2, 3, and 4. Now chain 1 and cut. I'm going to do the exact same thing now, reattach my yarn at the bottom here with a slip knot, and I'm going to work the same type of trim in the same way, but I'm going to work 8 stitches. So I'll chain 9 to start with the 9th chain being my turn chain, and work 8 single crochet back down and slip stitch twice into the bottom. Now this bottom section will be a little bit narrower because I started with a multiple of 6 stitches around the bottom, and I've ended, because of the way the pattern works up, with a multiple of 8 stitches. So that leaves it sort of uncinched at the top, but it will pull in a little bit at the bottom with this smaller hook size. So again, if you don't want it to pull in at the bottom, then stick to the same hook size, your 4mm if that's what you're using. If you need it to pull in more, use a smaller hook. Failing everything else, there's always elastic thread. That's my bottom band. As you can see, it's gone in a little bit, as mentioned. So I'm just going to seam this up now the same way as I seamed the top trim. I've just slip stitched into the last stitch on the base, and I'm just going to pinch these two sides together. Okay, so in through the external loop from the row I've just finished, remaining loop from the start chain, and slip stitch, and just do that for my 8 stitches. At the end, chain 1 and cut. All done. Now just for some straps. I'm just going to opt for a very simple chain strap today, but I'm going for double thickness chain, so it goes 2 per side. So I've got 2 at the front, 2 at the back that are double length. So for me, I'm using my 3mm hook. I'm going to chain 180 4 times. For long chains, I like to do in batches of 5, and then just pinch number 5 each time, so that I can not lose count if I drop off hook. So that's 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and pinch number 15, and so on. And that way, if it drops off, you've only got the last 2 or 3 to count up again. So I'll be back when I've got my 4 chains, show you how I put them in. I've worked all of my 4 chains, and I'm just literally going to attach them so that they're detachable, so I can wear it without the chains, or I can move them about as well. I've just basically gone in through and around one of the ridges in the top trim, and I'm just going to hook that through, pull it through. Simple as that. So this is the same position on the other side, and then I've popped into position at the back as well, just wherever you want them to go. Just got to weave in some ends now, and I'm all done. If you do all of that, you'll have yourself one of these. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more. A huge thank you to those who already have, and to everyone, thank you for watching today.